Hello guys, welcome back. Shortest goddess of the day video ever. I know it's going to be because I always get over information stuff, but it's going to be Sekhmet, or Aunty Sekhy as we call her around here. I know for 99.9% of her people she shows up and she's the goddess of special ops and she kicks her ass for them. With me, it's more I get the healer aspect because she's known as a healer as well, of like setting bones and everything. Especially, she's a goddess of military campaigns and she would march before the armies of Egypt. A lot of their gods did, by the way. Like we said that about Bastet, Anubis did as well. She was the first one out there. She's known as a very wrathful goddess. She was sent down by Ra, and there's like 20 versions of the story. This is just the one I usually go with. There were so many bad, wicked people on the planet. Some people will even say there were like demons, though that wouldn't have quite meshed up with their mythology. And Sekhmet, the lion goddess, was sent down to kill them all. And she was doing such a great job of it that she was going to kill the whole human population. And Ra looks down, he's like, now what are we going to do? And they figured out to take beer and to dye it the color of blood. And they were like, hey, Sekhmet, come, we found you even more blood. And she loves to drink blood, so she toddles over and she drinks this blood. Pretty good. She got so blind drunk that she was staggering around, probably singing and laughing, and dropped her weapons. She can have... I always get a sword with her, but they say she shot flaming arrows of death because she's a sun goddess. And she got so drunk she passed out. And they were able to take her back to, the heavens. Some people say she's Hathor, she's the angry side of Hathor. Some people say she's Bastet. A lot of these goddesses all get thrown together. Keep in mind that in ancient Egypt, one, it wasn't unified, and two, there were very tiny little areas, and they all had their own separate god or goddess, and you didn't necessarily have the whole pantheon we have now playing well together. So you would have one goddess come in, and she would automatically, take on and absorb the qualities of the local goddess, so it was super confusing. She rules over menstruation, which I've often wondered, and I just asked her one time, she just quirked a brow at me. I said, are you why we women get so pissed off? She just kind of smiled, like, that battle rage you get? Like, for some women, it's the week before. For me, it's during. And this is for the ladies, you're covered in blood, and you're pissed off, and you want to kill all your enemies. And it's like, it's Sekhmet power. That's that rage that's taken apart on women. You can go to her, obviously, if you're having, menstrual issues, or I think even after, she will watch over you. She guards the dead. Even if they're dead, she will guard them. She was so ferocious and so needed to be, placated that they had a different statue for every day of the year, and her priestesses would go to her. That said, she also does have that loving side. Like, think of a mother lioness. She's very tender with her cubs. She's not just batting them all around the desert. She's very tender with her cubs, and she can be very nurturing. Very closely linked to, like we said, Bastet and Hathor, and so she can have that more gentle side. If she sees that rough treatment would break you, she's a good soldier. She's not going to do it. We talked about the Sun Association, so obviously fire, because she shoots flaming arrows at the enemies of the Pharaoh, and she's the protector of the Pharaoh. And she's also a goddess of like divine justice, and her wrath towards people is never ending. They really associate her with the heat of, the sun at its hottest in the desert, and, being absolutely merciless. But if you placated her with beer, she became pretty happy. They would use either beer or wine after every war. They would have singing and dancing and beer and wine to try to get her energy back to being really placid, so that she would stop killing people, because they really believed that if you did not calm Sekhmet down, she would just keep fueling the war machine, and she would just run over everybody. It's not... Sekhmet is by no means evil, it's just once she starts going, you better divert her energy, or she's just going to keep going, and she's going to run over the entire planet. All that said, like most gods and goddesses that have a really terrifying reputation, I found she can have that tender spot with people. Is she kind of senses you've been through a lot, especially if you've been through a lot of trauma or something. She can just be the lioness that's by you and protecting you. I was terrified of her when I started working with Vesta. All of a sudden, Icy showed up, and then Sekhmet showed up, and I loved her because she's a lioness and she's beautiful. And I look at her statues, and I'm like the person that would probably get killed first if it wasn't a benevolent side to her. And I'm like, look at the pretty kitty, look at the pretty kitty. And she kind of looked at me the very first time we met each other. She came over because she was interested, but she was kind of looking at me, and she looked at Bastet, and she's like, okay, this one Bastet got to her first, so I know what she's like. So maybe that's why she's more merciful with me, because she's like, you're one of Bastet's kittens. In fact, she wasn't too fond of me when we first met. She was curious. She was curious lioness lady, and she came over, and she was like, what are you? You're a house kitten. Maybe we can toughen you up. Maybe. I don't know. She can be a grumpy lioness. At those times, just leave her alone. But she can also be very warm and nurturing towards women. She does love women. She loves all genders. Egyptian people weren't shy about sex. She loves all genders, and she will protect all genders. I would say if you're running something for people that have suffered abuse or something, she would be a great goddess to go to. Um, I haven't seen her heavily associated with magic, but she was one of those goddesses where when the patriarchy started to rise, they tried to strip her of all power. Some people, not everyone, claim she was stripped down to Bastet. And that's why some people won't use Bastet's name, because they see the ET at the end as demeaning. But for me, it's like saying pretty kitty wiggums woo, and Bastet just eats that up. Sometimes the little ears twitch back like, don't call me that today. But I've always got the idea that they're very different goddesses. Same with Hathor. Like, Hathor will just look at Sekhmet, and sometimes they'll be like, yeah, we're the same goddess, and some days they'll be like, no, we're not. They change your answer on a daily basis. You don't have to, like I said with the other ones. I think this is important to learn, because some people are elitist. You don't have to join any specific group unless you want to work in that group. You don't have to learn ancient Egyptian. She does like her songs and her music. A lot of the stuff you can do for Bastet can placate Sekhmet, at least in my experience, because it's one of those things where she seems to accept who you are as who you are. So she will take it, and Bastet's very about calming Bastet down, and Bastet's calm already compared to Sekhmet, so it's something she enjoys. So she enjoys music and food and everything. Obviously, her color is red, both for menstruation, for war, and for all the blood she likes to shed. Loves alcohol, can't go wrong with alcohol. But whatever you can give her, if you can just give her time. I know she can be super scary when she first shows up, because this is a lioness. And it can be, especially those of us who have maybe only seen a lion in the zoo, or seen a lion on a video, or maybe we never saw that. We just saw like a lion picture somewhere. It can be kind of hard to accept how terrified out of their mind people were of a group of lions. But think back to ancient times. There were no secure door locks or anything. There were lionesses, and they were determined. And if they were going to hunt people, and unfortunately, if it's bad enough, they will hunt humans down. Lionesses would stalk them for many miles, break into their house, and drag them out. So it's like they had a good reason to be afraid of lions and, everything else. And a good reason to respect them. They didn't go out of their way to be cruel to them. In fact, in her temples, there were tamed lions. How well you can actually tame a lion is debatable, because, you always hear these stories about, well, the cat is still a cat, and if you startle or scare them, that's the end of you. So she's a good goddess. A lot of people that work with her, give you fair warning, say she's extremely aggressive, extremely tough, extremely mercy, kind of like the way Odin acts with me a lot of the time. That's the way she acts with a lot of her people. So they'll be like, what do you mean she's ever nice? And that's actually, that seems to be your normal mode of treating people. She's a rough war goddess. But at the same time, she has enough of that nurturing lioness energy that if she sees you've been like through a lot, she will adjust and work accordingly. As long as you're not an evil person, as long as you're not going out to hurt people, she will work with you. But if you would be, there's nowhere to hide from Sekhmet. She's divine justice. She's the wrath of Ra. Ra didn't send floods. Ra didn't send anything else. Ra sent Sekhmet. She would come down and she would get you. And there was no place you could hide from her. And she had absolutely no mercy since she's the lioness goddess. And the lady who evil trembles before, Mistress of Slaughter, I think is one of her names. Like a Mistress of Fear, like anything intimidating, scary, and that sounds badass, it would be a good name for her. A lot of the translations into English are the very best we can do, so you might see the same hieroglyphics translated into, 4 or 5 different names. But, if it sounds intimidating and it sounds like she would break somebody's jaw for looking at you wrong, that would be a good name for Sekhmet. Again, healer. We have a candle lit for her today, and I was having some health issues, and I'd asked who wants a video today, and I went on Pinterest, and I wasn't seeing anything, and all of a sudden all this Sekhmet stuff came up, and I'm like, oh no, Sekhmet, I'm a little scared of you, but it was like, it'll be okay. I want my due attention. And if you light a candle for me, and since you're menstruating, I'm very interested right now. She's very brass tack. She's very, she's like, good, you're menstruating, you're a female. It's not, by the way, if you're a female that doesn't menstruate, it's not like she's not going to work with you. You don't have to be able to menstruate. You don't have to be born biologically female. It's one of those things she rolls over. Believe me, if you're female and don't menstruate, you are so fucking blessed by the gods. So, believe me, there's no fucking treat to it. Those women that say there is, they must do some strong drugs once a month because it is fucking hell. I can't laughter back here. But it's kind of like a war. Your body's at war, so of course Sekhmet's gonna be there. But overall, we're doing candle for her. She's doing healing with me. She can help you at least manage through the pain, soldier on if she can't do anything else. But since she is associated with healing, she will be like, have you taken everything you can to treat this? Don't be a hero. Nobody likes a hero. So she's practical too. So if you're going to work with her, she's very practical. She can have a long fuse at times if you're the right person, but there are other people that I will give you fair warning. And I love her, but I will give you fair warning that she will go off in an instant. In fact, she'll go off before they open their mouth. So it's like, if she approaches you, just try to figure out what kind of relationship you want. Oh, rather, she wants, because this is going to be Sekhmet's relationship, make no mistake. With me, we don't really have an altar. She has had little gifts over the years, like earrings that remind me of the sun disk and like very strong perfume that smells like she's gonna punch somebody. She's a war goddess. Even like a La Santa, you get that war goddess with her, and you get it very strong, and she's a great warrioress. But Sekhmet was literally born for war and destruction. She's that. It's like the Morrigan on steroids and aggressive medicines. It's the only thing I can say. And yet she's the most loving and nurturing mommy cat or auntie cat or whatever she decides to be. So I hope you guys have liked that. It's not as long as my other ones. I don't know her history backwards and forwards. I kind of zone out, because it's the same thing as with Greek mythology. Like, you're going to get 20 different origin stories. You're going to get 30 different kinds of details on what she drank and who she was killing. And I'm just like, I don't have the patience to try to sort through this. So, if you guys like what you see, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.